Hello, my name is Duncan, and the snorting you hear is from Michael the Labrador, and I think Gizmo over there is just asleep in the corner. But welcome to Bath Books, or Back Away from the Donkey. This is where I talk books and nonsense and ramble on. But anyway, this is for Tag Tuesday. I'm actually recording this, doing a couple of videos on Monday. I'm recording before the light goes because we lose light about 2:30 in the afternoon. So I'm trying to get a couple in while I have time now. But this is Tag Tuesday, and this tag is the Hitchcock book tag. And I was tagged by the GKBC about a month ago, actually just before Christmas. So I thought I'd better do it. And it was an original tag by Book Rising with Bart Gilberston. And I said I'll tag both of those below, along with the all the prompts for it. So this is the Hitchcock book tag, so it's based on Hitchcock films and books, or Hitchcock books, Hitchcock films. So let's get straight on with it. And the first one is the prompt. See, I'm using old technology, piece of paper. Okay, I typed it up, now I printed it out. But yeah, there may be a few spoilers for certain books here that I can't avoid because of what the questions they're asking. But before I tell you what it is, I will just give you a little mark just so that you can scoop by them. And what I will do is do a thing I don't normally do, is for each tag I will give a numbered chapter thing at the bottom. I don't normally do because it's a bit of a faff, but I will do it for this one just in case you want to skip by something, just in case you get a spoiler for the book. And that's my public information announcement for the day. Anyway, so the first tag is Spellbound, and it's the name of a book that you were so enthralled by it you couldn't put it down. And I was just, for this one, I was trying to think of recent books I've read, because I can think of books like Lord of the Rings that I read in about 2 days when I originally read it, because I didn't do anything else, obviously, because it's such a big book. But yeah, so in the past sort of year of books I've read, and the one that came to mind was two seconds. We were going to have a little intermission while I go and get the book.
Somewhere in space, this may all be happening right now. 20th Century Fox and George Lucas, the man who brought you American Graffiti, now bring you an adventure unlike anything on your planet. Star Wars.
Here they come. Coming in too fast.
The story of a boy, a girl, and a universe. It's a big, sprawling space saga of rebellion and romance. It's a spectacle, light years ahead of its time.
I am C-3PO, human cyborg relations, and this is my counterpart, R2-D2. Hello.
No Dawson, no Dawson.
It's an epic of heroes.
Good luck.
And villains, and aliens from 1,000 worlds. Star Wars, 1 billion years in the making, and it's coming to your galaxy this summer.
Sorry about the intermission, I'd forgotten to pick up the book. But anyway, and the book that I was totally enthralled by was Jack Williamson's Darker Than You Think, which, after reading it, is the best werewolf book out there. It's the werewolf book as far as I'm concerned. It is stunning. It's not like the a lot of the modern ones, which all are excused to have men run around in with their shirts off and be alpha males and what have you. It is a proper fantasy almost different take on the werewolf mythos, and it is so good, and I recommend anybody read it. So yeah, Jack Williamson's Darker Than You Think. That was the last book in the past year that I just sat down and just read and thought, wow. Okay, so the next one is going to have a bit of a spoiler. So this is Rope. Name a book where the murder weapon is anything other than the gun or knife. So obviously it's a spoiler, so if you want to skip by to question 3, you can do, because this is a spoiler for The Naked Sun by Isaac Asimov. And I've got a few versions of this book. I did pick one up. I got this really old, lovely panther one. And The Naked Sun is one of Asimov's robot books with the robot detective, Elijah Bailey, who's a detective, and he goes around with our Daniel Oliver and helps solve some crimes, but it's all an excuse to do sort of more sociology about the way the galaxy is developed and all the spacer worlds within Asimov's universe. And The Naked Sun, there is a murder, which is what he is investigating, and the murder weapon is the arm of a robot. So that's a bit of a different one. So yes, Naked Sun, Isaac Asimov, and I'm a big Asimov fan. Okay, now we're on to question 3. Question 3 is Vertigo. Name a book with a notable scene from a dizzying height. I almost went with another Asimov book, Foundation, because at the beginning of the first Foundation book, you get, this isn't really a spoiler because it's just, you get Gal Dornick on top of one of the viewing platforms, looking over the planet, and he gets accosted by an agent of the Emperor. But I nearly went for that, but I didn't. What I went for is a bit of non-fiction, and that is Chris Bonington, Everest the Hard Way. And this, I think, is out of print, and it's Chris Bonington's discussion book about his expedition up Everest in 1975, when he went up the which face is it? Meant to be the southwest face, which was meant to be the toughest face of Everest, and obviously a lot of it takes place higher than you could possibly think. I love books like this, and this one's quite interesting because obviously it was Everest in 75. Like now, you get everybody in there. Dinner Lady seems to go up there, even though it's still incredibly dangerous. There's loads of people up there. But in 1975, very few people had climbed Everest or went up Everest because it was very limited by the governments there at the time. And this is great, incredibly well written, and it's got some great pictures within the book. I picked this up a while ago in a local shop, and I said I'm pretty sure it's out of print now. But I love adventure stories like this, real life ones, and all these gorgeous pictures within the book. So if you can get hold of a copy of it, I'd recommend reading it. And that's Chris Bonington, Story of Everest the Hard Way, and you can't get much higher than that, and of course you've got to go. Okay, on to number 4, which is Psycho. It's got name a book where the main character is a psychopath. It's quite a difficult one actually, because the psychopath, sociopath, the classifications are quite broad, and the popular idea of what a psychopath isn't really what one is. It's, yeah. I did think about Bret Easton Ellis's American Psycho, but I thought that was just a bit obvious, and so I went with Anthony Burgess' Clockwork Orange, which I thought was probably a good take on it, because you've got Alex and the rest of the droogs, and are they technically psychopaths? I don't know, but they're particularly troubled individuals. But yeah, Anthony Burgess, Clockwork Orange. And on to the next one. It's Frenzy. Name a book with a society or community in complete chaos. I had a little think about this one. This one I've only got on ebook because I had an offer and I brought it, and it's quite a new book. It's called Kings of a Dead World by Jamie Mollett. And I said I'll put a picture of the cover up there. So terrible cover. Terrible cover, which is probably part of the reason I ended up with an ebook of it, because I had some free credits from buying something and I thought buy it. It's a interesting book. It's a book. It's almost taking the idea from Philip Jose Farmer's Day World, which I've mentioned in videos before, where people are put to sleep because of overpopulation for certain amounts of time, so there's less population and resources used. But this one it's very dark. It's after the population. It also flashes back to the before, this idea of freezing people, putting them to sleep in suspended animation to keep the resources low. And in this world, they do it for, I think it's for 3 months at a time. And it's got people living within the world as it's doing that, but it's also got flashbacks to what happened beforehand. It's very dark. It's not an easy read. Very, I hate the term, but it's very literary in its the way it's written. And I read about 80% and I didn't like the book. And then the last 20% it came together, and now I really like the book, which is one of my things about people who give up books after 10 pages or one chapter. Don't do it, because there's so many books out there that don't really come together till the back end of them. But yeah, that's Jamie Mollett, Kings of a Dead World, and that was the frenzy one about society breaking down. And also, what's quite nice about it, I said there's so many post-apocalyptic books set in America, because they all seem to be. This one's in Britain, so that's why I quite like that one. So the next prompt 6. Name a book where the gems and jewels are a central part of the plot. It's got me thinking, and the one called David Gemmell, Echoes of the Great Song, which is that really stunning title. I love the title. This is a fantasy book. It's what's known as heroic fantasy. There's all these subgenres. Like me and genres, I have arguments about genres, but yeah, because I think they're overrated. But anyway, it is a heroic fantasy, and it is about on this planet, and this race of godlike beings rule over the normal sort of humans, sort of rule over, but they're coming to the end of their power, and they get their power, their so-called immortality, but they're not totally immortal, but all from these crystals. And the crystals also power some of their devices and things like this. And that is why it's a central part of the plot. What I will say about this book is David Gemmell does a good job of giving you lots of characters all the way from the beginning that really are not likable characters. You do not like them at all. But by the end of the book, you still don't like them, but you care what happens to them. And this one, I said, this one Gemmell's one-off books. This is a standalone fantasy, which is quite rare in the world. And I think it's well worth reading. I think it's quite an underrated one of his. So yeah, David Gemmell, Echoes of the Great Song. And it's worth reading just for the title, as far as I'm concerned. And what are we on to the next prompt? The next prompt is the birds. Name a book where a bird or birds play an important part of the story. Okay, this is another spoiler one. This is a spoiler for The Stainless Steel Rat Gets Drafted by Harry Harrison. I couldn't find my copy of the book. I've got it somewhere. My shelves are a bit of a mess at the moment, and I couldn't be bothered to look any further. So I will get a picture of the cover up there. The Stainless Steel Rat Gets Drafted is one of his prequels. It's written after The Stainless Steel Rat, and it's like how as a young man he became to be who he was. And it follows on from this, A Stainless Steel Rat is Born. And part of the spoiler bit about it is he ends up on this planet, and he's communicated to by the League Navy. And the way they do it is in these crows, robot crows, that leave jet fuel behind, that fly around and talk to him. And he nearly gets detected and what have you. So yes, a wonderful Harry Harrison Stainless Steel Rat. And those two prequel books are Stainless Steel Rat is Born and Stainless Steel Rat Gets Drafted are well worth reading, as well as a normal run of them. There's also one after that, Stainless Steel Rat Sings the Blues, which is another one of the young Jim DeGris. So yeah, that was prompt 7. And number 8. Name a book with a troubled or shady female character. I probably picked one that most other people may have picked, because it's the first one that came to my mind. And that is Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca. I'm not going to give any spoilers. She's troubled and maybe not all her fault. But just read it. It's a stunning book. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier's last one. So yeah, that's the end of my tag for Tag Tuesday. And I said I was tagged by the GKBC, who I put below, and Book Rising with Bart Gilston was the original tag person. I'm not going to tag everybody else because I think some people have already been tagged. Some people have done this tag. If you've not done it and you want to do it, just do it. And you can even put that I tagged you or not. But yeah, that's the end of the tag for the Tag Tuesday. My first tag of 2023. And it was quite fun actually trying to think of the books. I actually had more problems than I thought it was going to have. Especially with the book you were so enthralled by. Trying to think of one that was recently done. But yeah, so that's me all done for this tag. And have a good Tuesday. And I'll be popping around to look at everybody else's tags throughout Tuesday. I'm sure I will. Okay, and I will speak to you all soon.